I welcome everyone once again to this platform. This is our monthly platform where we share ideas, we learn a lot, and we discuss what is actually the, at the burning front of mining activities. This platform is actually developed and being championed by Initiative for Advancement of Mining, Earth Sciences, and Environmental Protection. And in a short form, Iamesep. Iamesep is a non-charitable organization. For those of us that are actually joining us for the first time, is composed of practicing professionals in the areas of geosciences, mining engineering, environmentals that are actually focused and dedicate their efforts to foster knowledge and awareness about the Nigerian geology, mineral resources, and environmental issues. This is also where we have interaction with a lot of people, students, educators, some investors and entrepreneurs, and in general public, practical terms. So our slogan is usually known as that mining matters. Our vision have been to ensure professionalism through fostering awareness of Nigerian geology and mineral resources at different levels to bridge the existing gaps among relevant stakeholders while upholding global practices. And we also take initiative in involving the youth to explore earth sciences, mining and mineral exploration industries through a kind of organized learning activities by also providing them with hands-on mineral resource programs, innovative educations, and practical mining training opportunities, and mentorship for enhanced sustainable development of extractive Nigeria industries. So this is what we actually stand for, and this is actually what we do. In our last session, we discussed about minerals in transitioning to a net zero energy carbon environment and ESG perspective. Today is another interesting topic. I'll be also talking in the area of ESG. Also, we'll be talking on environmental, social, and government impact on sustainability of mining in Nigeria. We all know that ESG and have embraced a lot of things that has to come to change the face of mining, new mining industry in the country and at world at large. ESG is usually a term interchangeably used with sustainable investing, socially responsible investing, or mission-related investing, or risk valuation. It's at its core is a kind of a corporate governance and investment framework. So it is actually referred to, what we'll actually use to measure a business or when an investor is actually socially conscious. He has to identify and quantify the measures of a company's sustainability and societal impact using a kind of metrics that matters to investors. So all these things actually get towards a long, process of saying that we achieve a green environment. So the issues actually covered by ESG for mining sectors include environmental consideration like climate change, which when it comes to talk about carbon footprints, greenhouse gas, biodiversity, pollutions, energy consumption, water management, some hazardous substances you can go ahead and name a lot of things that has to do with issues of environment when it comes to mining. So these have actually incorporated the social and governance issues when it comes to mining. So that is actually what this is all about. So I think it's high time we got started. Today we have our speaker who is very well learned and highly experienced in the industry. So I think first of all, before we go on to introduce the speaker, will be actually giving a vote of thanks by platform for Dr. Mrs. Salah. I'm not sure she's here. Dr. Mrs. Salah, are you in the platform? Okay. Dr. Amuda, please, I don't know if we just do a kind of welcome address to most of our participants on the platform, just 30 seconds. Then we can introduce our guest speaker and we'll get started.
Oh, good morning. Good afternoon, everybody.
Afternoon.
This is our usual monthly seminar series, like the it has been introduced, that today we'll talk about environmental, social, and government impact on mining sustainability in Nigeria. The Iamesep has ensured to get a very competent personnel to handle this topic. So please sit back and enjoy the talk. Thank you for being part of the program. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Amuda. Thank you for that brief welcome address. And also we have Dr. Fadele on this platform. Dr. Fadele, please, can you indicate you are available? Dr. Fadele, please, can you indicate if you are there? Can you hear us? Okay, Mitchell, please, I will also want you to take, it seems Arthur is not available. You also need to take a note of most of the contributions, or some people that are going to ask questions. And you have to look at the chat trees so that we know who wants to say something at any particular time and you can hint us. Okay, the way it goes is that we're going to introduce the guest speaker who's going to take the platform for the next 30 minutes. Tayo will take the platform. Okay, Ato is here. Ato, you are welcome to the platform. So we're going to give this platform for the 30 minutes. Tayo, you have to do everything possible to ensure that the 30 minutes doesn't actually elapse for you to make all your conclusions. Then the next 15 minutes will be for introduction, kind of a contribution from everyone. And the other next 15 minutes will be for questions and answers. So right now we'll go ahead I will actually make a brief introduction of David Akintayo Ajani. Is our guest speaker. David Akintayo Ajani holds master's degree in environmental and resource management, and also working on his PhD right now from the University of Ibadan. He's actually working on artisanal and small scale mining and development of sustainable communities. He's someone who is highly experienced and erudite one, over 30 years in the industry. He has also participated in several EIA and RRP projects as a team member and also as a consultant. He has actually consulted to several mining projects, including TOG Brothers Limited, QDO Enterprises, and Source Kings Limited. You know, so I think it's someone who is actively involved and have been actively involved in mining of tantalite, barite, gypsum, lead, zinc, kaolin, and other precious metals within the Benue Trough. In short, my interaction with him, in most cases, has shown that he actually traveled wide, near, and far, and as far as this mining is actually concerned. And he's actually written some academic papers and some research involving impact of mining activities on farm sizes and practices in mining communities of Duma local government in Benue State, and also written on artisanal and small-scale mining as a tool for achieving the sustainable development goals, myths or reality. He's also a member of some professional notable bodies like member of Nigeria Environmental Society, member of Nigeria Institute of Management, member of Association of Nigeria Geographers, and so on. So David is someone who is well experienced to actually deal and talk on these issues. So right now, I will actually want to give the platform to David to make justice to this topic. Please, I will want to see if I'll share the slide for you from here. So David, the platform is yours now.
Okay. Should I wait for your slide? Can I take off?
Okay, let me see. Okay. The slide is there now.
Okay. So, thank you so much, Gideon. Welcome to this session, ladies and gentlemen, and everybody that is online. Like Gideon said, we'll be talking about environmental, social, and governance impact on mining sustainability in Nigeria. And the time is really short, but what I intend to do is, I don't necessarily have to read line for line through the slides. I'll just speak to my slides. You will have the slide later, like Gideon usually do, and then, but it'll just be like starting the ball, and then we'll all contribute, we'll ask questions, and we'll all leave, including me, we'll leave there better informed. So that's the whole idea. So quickly, we'll be looking at introduction, history, origin, and evolution of ESG, why ESG has been growing. We want to look at environmental stewardship and reclamation. We want to look at nexus between ESG and SDG. We want to also look at laws and regulations related to ESG in Nigeria. We want to look at formalization. We want also to look at those areas, direct impact on the mining ecosystem in Nigeria, and conclusion. Like I said, once again, you're welcome. Now, to take off, ESG investing started in the 1960s in form of socially responsible investing. And investors then excluded stocks that had to do with portfolios such as, tobacco and South African apartheid regime. So it was like more like a protest against industries and sectors that had to do with that. So that was the origin. And then ESG became popular in 2004 from a report titled "Who Cares to Win," which was a joint initiative between the UN and a few multinational financial institutions. So in less than 20 years, ESG has grown to it has gone from just a form of a social, corporate social responsibility initiative to a multi-billion-dollar industry. As at 2019-2020, it is estimated that it is worth about 30 trillion in assets. That is kind of money available under ESG-related project. So, and also, I need to quickly let us in as to the fact that ESG took off from CSR. So in short, CSR is the precursor of ESG. So while CSR talks about the general atmosphere, and ESG went beyond that. But like he said, ESG can be used interchangeably with sustainable investment, socially responsible investment, risk evaluation, all of that. But at the core of ESG is corporate governance and investment framework. So there are three sets. There's a tripod on which ESG rests. So that's why we also refer to ESG as a trio of business measures that are used by socially conscious investors to identify and quantify the measures of the company's sustainability and societal impact using metrics that matters to investors. So we have the environmental considerations, which include things like climate change, carbon footprint, greenhouse, biodiversity, pollution, and all of that. We also have social focuses, which talks about how a company treats its workers, its employees, and the broader community relationship, human rights, gender inequality, worker community health, and all of that. And then we have the social governance issues that focuses on board structure, legal compliance, ethics, and all of that. Can we go to the second slide, please? Yes. So for the history and origin, I've given us a preview. So maybe we can just skip that and go to the next one again. Now, this is the next one, please. Gideon, the next one. Yes, this is a diagram, like a chart that talks about the impact of mining. There are three areas we want to look at the impact of mining. There's the economic impact, there's the environment impact, and there's also the social impact. For the economic impact, we have things like a boost economic growth, FDIs, GDP growth, and it provides infrastructures, schools, clinics, roads to the mining communities. There's the issue of employment generation too. There is the issue of providing capacity building to even farmers in the mining communities. Then there's the issue of providing essential services to farmers and farming enterprise. For the environmental, there are four major issues to look at there. We have impact of mining on water quality. We have it on ecosystem and vegetation. We also have it on land and soil quality. The net effect of all of this has to do with the effect on destruction of aquatic life and water pollution, land use changes and land use conflicts. We have loss of vegetation, that's flora and fauna. We have the reduction in carbon, the downside and the sink factor. We have the land degradation and loss of soil fertility and productivity. We also have habitat fragmentation, loss of endangered species, and production of substantial amount of waste product, especially from mine waste, sludges, stockpiles. Then for the social aspect, we want to look at mass migration and influx of people to mining communities. We want to look at the displacement of homes and farmland. We want to look at the high incidence of crime and armed robbery, gambling, prostitution, and consequences. Prevalence of communicable diseases, STDs, HIV, all of that. We also have things that have to do with like groundwater contamination. We have food insecurity, loss of farmland, loss of habitat, which impact directly on food insecurity. And of course, the almighty issue, the global warming. We have the increase in respiratory diseases, all of that. And then we have high cost of living too. From researches and what I've done in the previous, there's a strong link with high cost of living and mining. Anytime we have a mining boom, a community where there's mining, cost of living increases, food, accommodation, and the rest. Can we go to the next slide, please? Yes. So, in summary, the history and origin of an evolution of ESG. We want to continue. So, in the result of reviews of companies listed in SAP is like a global ranking for companies that matters. So the 500 ranked in 2019 by NASDAQ, which is the globally acknowledged body, it concluded that companies that has high sustainability ratings, that give control to ESGs, they expect both higher returns and less risk compared to companies with poor ESG ratings. Atkins in 2020 established that. So ESG2 might appear to be more relevant to large companies, but it is not so. Why? Because more bank and financial services and they are started laying emphasis on ESG principles, building principles around businesses. So ESG invariably is becoming more important to new and smaller businesses. So because later on we'll come to that. Don't forget that our talk is about mining sustainability in Nigeria. So we might not have huge multinational mining companies in Nigeria, but even for our small ASM and small mining companies, ESG is becoming very important to us. We'll see that later on. So businesses are facing a growing risk of losing investors due to lack of ESG awareness and practices. I mean, people no longer talk about ESG, no longer talk about. It's not just some people who talk about again, but it's becoming a major source of competitive advantage that may soon become a necessity for companies to survive. And I want us to look at it, especially for those of us that are mining practitioners. It is becoming a means to survive. By the time we finish the presentation, we'll understand that better. Then many traditional institutional investors now uses ESG strategies to appraise companies, to look at their risk exposures and to take investment decisions, whether we should give out facilities, whether we should invest. And you see, the kind of financing that mining needs is very related to ESG. The big companies, the big multinationals, I don't know whether Gideon will remember that there was this mining project that took place in Guma by one, I will not mention it, by one oil and gas industry years back. I mean, they spent a lot of money, but at the end of the day, they had facilities running to billions, if not for civil unrest. That thing would have taken off. They had facilities that came, but because of their ESG compliance. So those are the things we need to look at. Yes, the next slide, please. So also, before I do a quick explanation of this of this diagram, I want to also add that ESG is becoming very critical for compliance managers as well as investors who now not only look at look at how profitable a company is, but they are going deeper now to look at how a company is run and instead on ESG, so that they will now use that to determine whether they will invest or not. Now, coming back to this diagram, the ESG, these are the three components that ESG is made up of. We have the environment component, which has to do with things like climate risk, carbon neutral production, I mean, the carbonization, water use, responsible procurement, hazardous waste, circular economy. We all know that. I mean, we can, because of time, we may not be able to go into that. You know, you use these 3 R, you reduce, you reuse, you recycle. I mean, it's all about waste control, waste management, recycling, and purposing. Then under the social consideration, we have things like community investment, pay equity, I mean, gender issues, systemic racism, all of that is there. And then under governance, we have things like board composition, we have sustainable strategy, data transparency, diversity, executive compensation, ESG discourse, and audit. I mean, there's ESG audit too, and you'll be shocked. But that also come into the play. Now, that small drawing on your right, it's those 3 things that they were looking at. Sorry, I want to so that I can enlarge and talk. Now, for the 3 drawings, now ESG strategy, it talks about setting up a sustainable strategy that reflects company and birth's vision around ESG. Then that leads to the next one, which has to do with net zero strategy. It's all about decarbonization. I mean, developing emission reduction strategy. I mean, this global warming is a reality. It's something that, and unfortunately, we, many partners, we are one of the people that have been touted to be at the forefront of contributing to global warming. So we need to really look at that too. We also have the issue of reporting strategy. How do you report? How do you do your ESG reporting? I mean, it talks about identifying key stakeholder requirements. I mean, in reporting, regulatory frameworks. I mean, the database needed for comprehensive reporting. Thank God today, because of technology, there are softwares that even if you don't disclose fully, there are softwares in the system now that take care of that and ensure adequate and comprehensive reporting that are truthful, that are not hiding anything. We also look at sustainability reporting, which has to do with sustainability reporting, and or disclosure of ESG performance. I mean, I was doing a study of some big mining companies in Australia. I was very impressed with the way they do their ESG reporting. I mean, very, very detailed and very pictorial. You don't even have to be an expert. You don't have to be a mining expert to understand it. And then there's ESG ratings too. Listed companies' ESG performance will be rated on the stock exchange. We will come to issue of economic valuation later, which I'll just briefly, because of time, just give us an insight. So now, when evaluating a company performance, it has gone beyond just looking at how profitable it is. There's an economic valuation which adds to the profitability on the long run. And then we have the ESG ratings. Sorry, we have the other one too, which has to do with ESG ratings. And then can we go to the next slide, please? I'm just trying to be mindful. Now, why is ESG growing now? Why are we having ESG growing? Now, first and foremost, global sustainability challenges, as we're talking about, like climate change, increasing regulatory pressures, pressures from regulatory authorities, social and demographic shifts, and privacy and data security concerns. These all represent new and increasing risks for investors. Also, I want to also talk to us about the emergence of a new set of investors that we call the millennial investors. These are investors that are not just after the profitability of a business. They also want to look at how ESG compliant and investment opportunities before they take their decision. We also have ESG also increase profits and present opportunities for value creation. Very quickly, I want to quickly explain very, very briefly for us what value creation is all about. Value creation simply it's a template that is designed to integrate into an organization it's an economic measure that reflects the market price, and the economic measure also factor in ESG. So you now have an enterprise value that uses fundamental metrics in business valuation, financial analysis, accounting portfolio, and risk analysis. And let me show you, EV, that is economic valuation, is even more comprehensive than market capitalization, and it's a true reflection of a company's equity. I will just stop at that. Maybe during question and answer, I'll talk about that so that we don't lose track of what we're talking about. Now, ESG also presents opportunity for profit increment, increased profits, and opportunity for value creation. And that is brought about by enhancing the reputation of companies. Let me be honest with you. If you ever invest, before you buy shares on the stock exchange, you want to ask about the reputation of the company. Now, those things are the things that enhances a company's reputation. And when it comes to raising money and going on the stock, raising money that matters, a company's reputation becomes key. And that is enhanced by value creation that is as a direct result of ESG. Also, the outbreak of COVID-19 has led to increased compliance with ESG templates. And we have multinational development agencies, international finance entities, investors, and governments are now committed to what we call green recovery. Recovery that is environmentally minded. Yes, the next slide, please. Now, when we want to take a closer look at ESG, we want to look at salient and current issues. Now, when you look at ESG, let us take, for instance, environmental concerns. We look at climate crisis. We look at which is arguably the biggest environmental issue on earth presently. This has led to investors screening investment with respect to their perceived contribution to climate change. So now investors are becoming, they are factoring very well the issue of environmental conservation for the invest because of this climate issue. Then consequently, industries that rely on fossil fuel, as sort of energy are becoming less attractive. That is the origin of most of these oil and gas companies that are pulling out of Nigeria. And that brings us back to the issue that we have to look beyond oil and gas. It has become that serious. But again, coming back to our closer look at ESG, environmental concerns, we want to look at biodiversity, reduction of deforestation and habitat loss. call mine footprint. So which is caused by mining through ESD promote things like support for rangers and law enforcement so that they can enforce regulations that will enhance biodiversity. We also have preparation and implementation of biodiversity action plan (BHP), which will facilitate continuous collection of information on flora and fauna in the project area and integration of new knowledge and biodiversity management practices over the life of the mines and even beyond. That is after the closure of the mining activity. We also have the adoption of international best practices for the biodiversity management, which describe things like the International Finance Corruption Performance Standard. We have the BPOP, which is Business and Biodiversity Offset Program, which is standard on biodiversity offset. We have the International Council on Mining and Metals, ICMM, good practice for mining and biodiversity. So many of them that we have, but I mean, those are the issues that are as we're taking a closer look at ESG and now. We want to also look at under this to environmental stewardship and reclamation. This is very, very important. Next slide, please. Gideon, next slide. Environmental stewardship and reclamation. Next slide. Yes, mining, like I told you, is not a benign. It must leave its footprint because it's not possible to remove minerals from the earth and process them without impacting the air, land, and water. Also plant and animal life to different extents. But environmental stewardship basically is the goal and commitment of modern mining companies to minimize the temporary disruption of the environment during exploration and production and to maximize the restoration of ecosystems. So as man gain a better understanding of his interaction with the environment, and as we get more advanced in technology and changes in management techniques to couple with ESG considerations, it is becoming increasingly possible for mining companies to avoid, or at the very minimum, to minimize the negative impact of mining activities. And then we also have reclamation, which is very, very important. I mean, this entails restoring land to its pre-mining state, and it's very, very important. Yes, the next slide. So under the next slide, please. Under social concern, we have things that pertains to human rights. I mean, such as the constitution of impact on the local communities, the welfare of employees, and a more thorough examination of the company's supply chain. I mean, suppliers, and all of that. And then all of this constitutes a company's social responsibilities and have been incorporated in the financial arena due to the growing concern about ESG. So all of these have been incorporated into the financial details so as to come up with a proper appraisal of the viability of any mining enterprise. We also have things that have to do with consumer protection. So in recent times, due to increasing influence of ESG consideration, there has been increased assumption that the consumer has a right to a form of protection in place of the, before we are always to this of caveat emptor. This caveat emptor, indemnifies the company from liability. But no, that is not the thing. Now, what we have now is it's a protection of the consumer right. So you not only leave it only to the consumer, you also let them know too their risk. So that is even making it become more consumers should recruit and use optimally available labor and skills within the host communities. This is aimed at contributing to local employment and availability of skills within the host communities. We also have the development of comprehensive community relations program to engage with communities affected or perceived to be affected by mining activities. Also, social concern to ESG also promote local procurement and provision of infrastructure, thus engendering the creation of more resilient communities. And you see, very, very briefly again, I would want to remind us in a very, very briefly about what mining should, what sustainability should be, what sustainability is in the light of the mining ecosystem. Now, sustainability goes beyond the narrow definition. For mining, it has to involve the development of sustainable communities. And these are communities that are able to turn part of the wealth generated by mining from the operation of the mine, but also ensures that the community will have a continued future once the mining activity cease. Very important. One very important personnel, Tristan Pascal, is the CEO of First Quantum Minerals in Australia. He says that sustainability target in mining should be about increasing self-reliant mining communities empowered to pursue a more rewarding way of life today and for generations to come. That is post-mining. That is very important. So that's just by the wayside, but we need to remind us of what sustainability, because I mean, mining is finite. So how to use finite, something that is finite to be sustainable, that is our goal in mind. Yes, please, the next slide. So we want to look at the nexus between ESG and SDG. Like I told us, I mean, SDG is our sustainable development goals, and SDG and ESG are concepts for resolving environmental and social issues in order to attain the ideal of a sustainable society. So while ESG represent the goals, while SDGs represent the goals, ESG stands for methods and processes for achieving them. Let me repeat that again. ESGs are simply the goals, but ESG stands for methods and processes for achieving the goals. And while ESG is a concept that emphasizes the importance of the three aspects: environmental, social, governance, and governance for corporate management and growth. ESG is a rating system used by companies to measure their environmental and social credentials. So SDGs are increasingly used by companies and nations to track their contributions to achieving these goals and driving the company's own sustainability agenda. And then they differ. That's the difference. They define that while SDGs are applied to all stakeholders, including countries and the general public, ESG, primarily applies to the business community and the companies. That the business sector and the companies, they are the affected community and companies. Yes, the next slide, please. Yes, now, while don't forget, we're still looking at the nexus, the link, the connection between SDG and ESG. Now, I did a summary of ESG and SDG, and I came up with four major themes, key ESG themes that can be related, that can be linked to UN Sustainable Development Goals. One, the first one is theme one, which talks about decarbonization and climate risk. This supports the transition to a low carbon economy in line with the Paris Agreement goals. We all remember the Paris Agreement. It's all about decarbonization and reducing the global warming. So these are included in SDG 7, 9, and 13. Then the next one has to do with the circular economy and waste reduction. These supporting business models that reduce impact on natural resources and that can innovate to reduce waste generation with a focus on plastic waste. This is very, very particular. One of the greatest contribution to global warming is plastic waste. It has been so many research that established that plastic waste is a major contribution to global warming, and this can be linked to SDGs 9, 11, 12, and 14. For want of time, we can look up what each of these SDGs, the larger picture of what they are, but that's 9, 11, 12, and 14. And the third thing is diverse and inclusive business. This supports business practices that create a more just and inclusive society. So it's all about social inclusion. And this includes SDGs 3, 4, and 5. And the last and the fourth thing has to do with decent work and resilient jobs. This supports decent work across the entire value chain and making workforces resilient in the face of innovation and change, which is can be traced to, that can be linked to SDGs 3, 5, 8, and 12. Yes, the next slide. Now, I want to look at laws regulations now related to ESG in Nigeria. Now, let me quickly tell us that the uniqueness of our society of Nigeria is that unlike most other mining environments outside Africa, and like most other environments in Africa, ours is fraught, is filled with ASM activities and at best small and medium mining enterprises. So there's a uniqueness of our situation. But let me show you. When I was preparing this material, I just wanted that we don't have lack, we don't suffer from lack of regulations. So our problem is not with regulations. We have regulations that relate to ESG in Nigeria. There are quite a number of them. We have the 2018 Nigerian Code of Corporate Governance and Financial Reporting Council of Nigeria, which mandates companies to pay adequate attention to sustainability matters. We have the Security and Exchange SEC that usually the SEC corporate governance guidelines, which makes it mandatory for public. There are so many of them. Let me just be going through them so that we don't waste time, because I want us to look at some other more important things that has to do with the core thing that we're talking about today. We also have chapter 11 of the Nigerian Constitution, which contains environmental, social, and governance principles that officials in 3 arms of government, that is the executive, legislative, and judiciary, are statutory. That means they are by law required to observe. I mean, such as provision of social welfare, promotion, and all of that. Now, quickly, let me just roll out. I will not that I'll just go to them. Under environmental considerations, we have things like the EIA laws of Nigeria, 2004 EIA laws, which make it mandatory for any project or activity that's likely to affect environment significantly to carry out EIA activities. We also have the Necessary Establishment Act of 2007, and this establishes the responsibility to enforce general environmental standards and regulations in Nigeria. We also have the Harmful Waste Act of 2004. We have the Water Resources Act of WRA 2004, which regulates activities affecting water use and license regulations. Under the Social Constitution, we have the Factory Act of 2004. We have the Employers Compensation Act 2010, which ensures health and safety of persons at work by requiring companies to put in place adequate processes, procedures, policies, and structures to this effect. We have the National Housing Fund of EDAS NHF 2014, which established the National Housing Fund to ensure availability of quality and affordable houses to every Nigerian worker. We have the National Health Insurance Scheme 2004, which established and ensured Nigerians have access to good and affordable healthcare service. We have the Pension Reform Act of 2014, which aim at protecting retirees and their dependents from future financial hardship. We have the ITF Act of 2004, which aim at development and training of Nigerians in order to provide adequate indigenous manpower. We also, under governance, we have, like I told us, the NCC Governance Code and the Nigerian Stock Exchange Sustainability Disclosure Guidelines, which recommends the inclusion of corporate governance reports, as well as environmental and social risks and opportunities. And the NSC Disclosure Guidelines require companies listed on the Nigerian Stock Exchange to adopt sustainability reporting. Now, this is the core, the core of the matter. We are rounding up, but in rounding up, we need to look at the benefits of incorporating ESG principles and activities into business operations in the Nigerian mining ecosystem, so that we can promote the sustainability of the sector. So when we look at the benefits, we'll see why it's important, and now we promote the sustainability of our sector. One, I mean, ESG considerations boost corporate reputation, like I told you before, and that valuation, I mean, that is the reputation of the company, and improves stakeholder perception of the business. It also improves managerial decision making, and it enhances long-term value creation. That's under governance. It engenders harmony with regulatory authorities and government agencies, which reduces regulatory and policy risk. I mean, when a company factors this in, they have less risk of flouting or violating laws, which means that they'll be free from sanctions and prosecution, which invariably makes them more profitable. That they will have good reputation, they will not waste money on sanctions. And then this also, the incorporation of ESG practices also reduces operational risk, such as environmental disaster and employee strikes. I mean, when you factor in the employees concerned, then you prevent employee strikes. All of these add up to the sustainability potential of our sector. Then it mitigates community disputes, which are common, particularly in extractive industry. I mean, we have thousands and thousands of, I mean, this current Niger data restiveness, it is slowly creeping into mining concern. There's a mining concern I'm consulting for presently in Ekiti State. They are into the video light. We've been having ongoing issues with the community. They have papers, all of that, but I'm all of this is so that you be at peace with your community. So when the community knows that you have them in mind too, then they become less restive. So that's the thing. And then it enhances access to appropriate funding. Like I told us, when you do proper ESG, I mean, you operate properly, you access multinational financing institutions that can give you the kind of money, long-term financing, which is a bane of our industry. The lack of adequate and appropriate financing will be taken care of, which will promote the stability of our sector. Then it also facilitates the establishment of social license, which is even more important than the license that we get from government, because that's the one that you get from the community that you're working on, which is important to business operating in a developed economy like Nigeria. So I mean, the adoption of ESG compliance to also enhances employee performance, resource efficiency, cost savings, and productivity, which ultimately improves business and companies' profitability. So you look at it, it's a win-win for everybody involved. So it facilitates the ability of the company to attract, to retain, and motivate top talents and best talent, because very top-class employees now are becoming more concerned about ESG matters. And then it promotes the development of Nigerian content, which is important for achieving sustainable development. So before I conclude, I want to quickly talk to us about formalization, because we're talking about this our unique mining ecosystem, which is fraught with ASM. I mean, it is very, very important for us to encourage formalization of the sector, because our sector is dominated by ASM. So when we encourage formalization, it will promote the sustainability of the mining sector. So that we can now begin to incorporate ESG principles, and all of these benefits that are shared with us can come to our sector. I mean, we all know what for the formal sector through legal, regulatory, and policy framework. I mean, this includes the activation, implementation, and monitoring and enforcement of such regulation and framework, while ensuring it is appropriate in local context and communities. And it is meant to address the negative impact of ASM from the public that has come to the association with the sector. And then formalization is key to ensuring the sustainability of the mining sector, so that we can realize the huge potential of the sector. So in conclusion, I want to submit to us that to benefit maximally from ESG, businesses must go beyond mere compliance with the it must go beyond let us just be seen to be ESG. The company must start to incorporate ESG principles into the company's cultural values and practices. I mean, so that sustainable use of natural resources across the planet is essential to building long-term economic stability and prosperity. And Nigeria cannot be an exception. So ESG provides the opportunity for mining companies and mining concerns, mining business, mining interests to consider implementing meaningful strategies and policies as a central part of doing business, to not only drive investment into the sector, but to ensure a competitive, sustainable, and accountable sector. Thank you.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow. Tayo, this was like I was struggling to write as many I could put down. You know, you said so much in just less than 40 minutes. I couldn't even catch up with so many things and all that. You know, so much is involved in your presentation. And I think this is very, very interesting. I want to say a very big thank you. You've done a very good job, and you've actually brought out a lot of things out of this. ESG is not something we can just overlook when it comes to issue of corporate governance and all that. So I appreciate your efforts in making bringing this topic to us and actually saying a lot of things assigned to this topic. I think we will leave this, give this opportunity for some people that might want to actually contribute to the topic before we'll actually look at question. Please, if you have anything to say, you have to raise your hand so we can unmute you. I think everybody is muted. We'll wait for, I've not seen any hand being raised. I'm looking for hands being raised. Arthur, I will unmute you now. So please, is there any hands that is being raised here for contribution? I think having listened to that, it is very, very important that Nigerians, corporate companies need to answer a lot of questions when it comes to ESG. There are a lot of questions that actually I think it's something that they would have to look at. Most companies need to understand the issue of ESG. Is it something that affects their company's competitiveness? Because being ESG compliant, fear that excessive emphasis on ESG could harm a company's competitiveness and not misplaced. We need to look at that. Also, are they also offering their profits? It is like a kind of things that business leaders should be aware of, aware of the rig that are actually dogged ESG focus. So we need to really understand that. Okay, before I go further, I'm seeing two hands being raised up here. Okay, let me give the platform to Salah Habiba. Like Salah Habiba, the platform is yours. Can you make your contributions?
Actually, yeah, I can hear you. Yes. Actually, it's a question, not really contribution.
Okay.
Yes, the presentation was kind of a little bit fast, but I have this problem, like maybe I don't really get it. The SDG seems to be for the government and the ESG for the business people, let's say consultancy, mining company, and all of that. So I really want to know, how can these two, okay, he was talking about the government, like the businesses solving problem, like bringing in the local miners into the legal view. So how do they do that? Is it that you have to meet with the government, or I don't really get it? That's just what I'm confused about. If you can shed more light on that. I don't know if you get my question.
Okay, Tyler, did you hear what she's saying? She's saying how can this actually be related? How can the local miners, when it comes to ESM, who is struggling with some kind of localized tools, struggling with a lot of issues to survive. How can this actually affect them? How can they be compliant when it comes to ESG?
Okay. Yes. Thank you very much. I'm sure I spoke maybe a little bit too fast because of the time constraint. I would have preferred a more time relaxed setting so that I could be more, but of course I understand we are all present. Now, that was why I brought in the issue of bringing this global thing So I look at environment. I remember towards the latter part of my presentation, I talked about formalization. Last year, I did a research and I made a presentation on another platform on formalization at ASM. And that was why if you followed me, I took about 2 minutes to talk about formalization. Now, our sector is largely dominated in Nigeria by that description that you brought. Is a small, struggling sector, financially constrained, using basic tools. And that is why, thank God for, I don't know whether Madam is here, Dr. Salau. I mean, thank God for, because I think our platform too has the help of government. Now, formalization is very important. Now, the first thing is to bring an informal income sector like ASM into a formal sector. And regulation, legal, and policy framework. It has to be a deliberate effort by both the government and also the established companies. Because let me tell you, when you bring SM into the formal sector, even for the bigger many companies, it's a win-win. The issue of fighting and contending with SM for the same minefields will not be there again. We have cases in Ghana, the gold mining project Ghana, in Ethiopia, where they brought these small miners under the formalized canopy. It could even be this mine like Gideon used to talk about this mining cooperative. You understand? Have them structured. Then you can now bring in. See, there are facilities out there. There are World Bank facilities. There are facilities out there for this kind of people, but it will not come to them except they are structured. Except there are things on the ground that are visible. So the first thing is to become formalized, make them formalized, get them registered. Then you now do an auditing of their work. What's auditing? Where are they? Where should they be? What is necessary to bring them to where they should be? Let me tell you, the finance will come. Let me tell you that. You see, the problem is not the finance, it's making us ready so that we can attract that kind of finance. We have a $20-30 billion finance waiting out there, but they will not bring you one cent until they are sure that there's a system that will secure their money, that will also make sure that they will not contribute more to global warming. So I don't know whether I'm able to answer that.
Okay,
yes,
Salah
yes,
Habiba, did you get him?
Yes,
Okay,
I get
what
it.
is trying to emphasize is on the formalization aspect of it. That it is very simple for most of our ASM to assess anything meaningful, for them to have a system, for them to have voice, for them to lay their complaint. There must be a system where the government can find them. There must be a location where we can say, this is the people you are dealing with. This is who they are. This is what they are doing. This is how they do it. There must be a formalization, a kind of a restructuring. That is even one of the activities we are working on. We've tried to do certain things, something of this nature in Nasarawa and also in Kebbi State. So he's talking about bringing, instead of calling them they are illegal miners. Why do we call these guys illegal miners? Because we think they are not registered, they are that and not. But these new tools, a new name is, we call them artisanal miners, in the sense that we try to bring in them under a kind of a cooperative society, being registered under a particular body that is known by the government, and following this kind of thing, they can actually access facilities and they can be mentored, and they also can have access to some extension services. From that they can be compliant to some certain millennium goals that is expected for sustainable mining. Is that I don't know if you're okay by that. Then let's look at Ehsan. Was raising his hand. Is it there? Are you there? I saw his hand up. Okay. Before that, let's go to. Okay, Ato, I can see your hand. You can go on.
Okay. Good morning. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you, Mr. Presenter. I actually enjoyed your presentation. But I have a question. But I think before I ask my question, let me also dive a little to this last statement Mr. Tayo made. Now, the issue about artisanal miners and getting formalized. Let me play the devil's advocate a little. You see, you are in a country whereby the country itself is trying to scam you. The country, let us be truthful. The country doesn't even have your interest at heart in the first place. So why will I bother myself as an artisanal miner? Why will I bother? The least I can do is to get registered and form a cooperative. But I'm not doing it because I'm trying to get something from the government. The government is not providing an incentive for you. Instead, trying to see how they will rip you off. So why bother myself with all those ESG and all this? Because this is let's be factual. Nigeria does not have your time. If there's a way we can get it by boycotting the government, it will be fine. But if it's to follow the government's own way, my brother, we are just speaking English. Even if the money comes, they will not get to you. They'll start putting some money policies and all this. So that's just by the way. I'm just trying to shed light. Maybe later you can talk more about that. But that's just by the way. My question in this now is this: we're talking about ESG. Initially, most companies they talk about EIA, they talk about ESIA, and these activities are done by majorly environmental managers or those in the environmental aspect of it. Now, coming to ESG again now, how professionally situated are the responsible persons that are supposed to be doing this thing? Do you have what it takes to now prepare an ESG document? Because from what I'm seeing now, is a little bit of more of ESIA and more of CSR and more of all those things that have been there before. But as it stands now, do they have those requirements? Do they have the professional know-how to be able to prepare ESG documents that investors can carry, for a company that investors can carry and say, okay, this company is worth investing in, seeing now that they have met 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 ESG as stated in ESG plan? That to start improving on how to write ESG documents. So these are my question, please.
Okay. Taya, are you there?
Yes.
I think if I should rephrase Arthur's question, Arthur, I think your question, let me rephrase. What you're saying is, do we have a framework? Like, for example, we have EIA, we have a framework and a structure and a format for a document, because for a company to be compliant, because that is another thing I wanted to ask Tayo in terms of, I want him to, basically, because, during his presentation, a lot of people might not really get certain things, but you might use this. That's why we need to give some time, at least another 30 minutes in terms of contributions and all that. So a lot of people will get to understand where we are coming from and what we are saying. So Arthur is actually asking about, we actually know about CSR. Before we are not into CSR, we are more of EIA. Before the World Bank came in, and most of the sponsorship that is coming from the World Bank has to incorporate CSR, and now there is a kind of ESG. Now what is asking, do we have the framework in Nigeria to say that this company, this is the document, that will show that they are compliant? Or where are we in ESG in Nigeria? A kind of what is happening, yes, when it comes to Nigeria specifically.
Okay, fine. Now, very quickly, Gideon, and I think Arthur, right? Now, for the other one that he talked about, let me first tell you. Now, factor on ESG and becoming ESG compliant, you are not doing government no favor. It doesn't even have to be government oriented. See, if you get the picture of the picture I've been trying to paint. Now, I also believe, and please Gideon, note this, I also believe that this our platform has a very important role to play in what we're talking about today. Now, when you are trying to bring people together to now be in a situation where they can attract FDIs, foreign direct investment, and all of that, it doesn't necessarily have to come through government. Let me tell you that. Now, when you have a setup with reputable people on the ground and it is visible, let me say it again, it must attract investment. See, money flows to where opportunities are, but that man out there will not throw his money at you. You want to be sure. So when you have things on the ground for your sake, not for government's sake. Now, if government is dragging its foot, or its feet rather, then You don't necessarily have to wait for government. If you get the proper gist or my gist, it has to do with us. And that was why I remember I said it's a win-win. You get it done, you get it formalized, you get yourself organized for yourself. So if government is saying no, let me actually blow your mind. Now, relating to the second question, that the main question that you have, that Gideon reframed. Now, Dangote, most of these companies, Dangote, Bois, that's a company in Elisha, that big gold company in Elisha. All of them have proper ESG templates. And let me shock you. When I remember years back, when we started EIA and ESIA, we were not experts. We started because we are not dumb, we are not stupid, and it's building on CSR and ESIA. All you need to do is to have 2-3 templates worldwide. If you go to, it is not part of this one, but I have some reports, ESG reports from some prominent mining companies in Australia. By the time you look at 2, 3, 4, and you're a mining practitioner, actually, if you are the ESIA, EIA practitioner, you can easily prepare an ESG something. And then, let me blow you. There are softwares now. There are software packages. All you need to do is to fill in some data. They will come up with a document that even you yourself will shock. Part of what was edited out because of time is the fact that the habit of technology has made it even not compulsory to have too much information again. Once you have some basic information and some metrics, there are softwares that will do the conversion and come up with a very good ESG that will comply with that fair play FPIC standards, all those standards I talked to you about. There are standards that they have templates. If you go online, you see their templates, follow their templates. And if you're an ESI practitioner, if you're an industry practitioner with a little experience, 1, 2, 3 sessions, you'll be okay. So it is not any big deal. Yes, there's a problem. Even outside abroad, ESG is still a relatively new field. So people are getting better. I mean, better softwares are coming up. Even better hardwares are coming up to take care of it. But it's an evolving sector that can only get better. So, and we should not be an exception. I don't know whether I've answered that.
Yes, Tyler, thank you for that. Thank you for that question. I think Ato, are you there? Okay, Ato, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. Did you hear what he said? So I think there's something I got very clearly from what Tayo is just trying to say about ESG, unlike EIA. You know, ESG is actually something that will benefit the company itself, because there's example is cited, and I knew what happened, and I knew the condition of that company till date. That happened. What happened in Berite field close to my local government area. So the first beneficiary of ESG is the company itself, because a lot of things will be put in place. There is no need of you trying to bring your capital in place. That's why we are crying for security in the country today. You don't bring your capital into an environment that is so toxic. You know, that's why you see a lot of people, they bring in their capital here. The next time you see, the next thing you see that the entire place is deserted. That what is happening there right now. The processing facilities, the mining facilities. In short, there's one that just recently, as I'm talking to you now, in Logo, a lot of people have actually left their mining field, left the materials, left a lot of facilities there running for their lives. You know, this happened the last 2-3 days. A lot of people were killed. So what is it trying to say? You need to actually pay attention, bringing investment to particular location, attention to environment, attention to social issues, attention to government or corporate governance. Because, for example, even if as good as a company might look like, you want to bring in your money into a company, you need to look at who are the stakeholders in this company. What is their reputation? What is their background? What is the antecedents? What is the credit history? A lot of things have to do with the governance. What is actually the governance, corporate governance structure? Is this something that will bring out your money? So a whole lot of things are actually involved. It is actual millennial investment kind of thing. You know, before people invest recklessly, but now a lot of conscience, a lot of knowledge, a lot of, you know, consciousness in terms of who are we dealing with, what environment are we dealing with, this product, what we are going to do, what is the effect on the environment? There's a whole lot of issues now. It has gone beyond a kind of bringing in EIA and CSR being combined together. So I think that's actually the ways also coming out from. So I don't know if you are satisfied with that or you have further contribution. In absence of that, and okay, you can go on. Okay, so it's okay. Okay, so it's okay. Then in absence of, okay, let's Dr. Fadele raised his hands. Are you there? Fadele, I'm looking for you to unmute you. Are you there? Dr. Fadele, are you there?
Yes, I'm with you.
Okay, please, yes, you can go on.
In contribution to what you and the presenter have said, I would like to appreciate the presenter for that great and wonderful presentation. I think it's very, very important because just like that's what I've said, you see, we have to start getting it right because nobody would want to, invest millions of dollars into a system or a business that doesn't have structure, that is not socially even accountable to itself, its stakeholders, or even to the public. And that is why before things like that can, for people, or you can get support from all these investors, or even the World Bank, you must have to have they must look at some critical things, among which I think it includes, which Mr. Tayo could confirm that, the environmental and social risk classification of that very particular project, and some of the your monitoring and implementation supports, your grievance mechanism and accountability. So many of those things are being required simply because they want the business to be sustainable. They can't just put in money into something that we are just doing anyhow. If investors are coming, that's why, just as we have said, the formalization approach is part of one of the key things that Iamesep came up with, and which would have helped curb so many problems and the outcry of all these artisanals complaining that no support, no this, no that. The formalization would have integrated all these their grievances, bring it together, so that when money is coming, we know that, okay, we have a formal, a structured body where we can put in this stuff and it will help them work. So we must start getting it right, because if the environment is distorted, there is no business. So our business must be environmental friendly, and that is why we are coming up, World Bank, AFDD, and other, even the industrial bank we have. We make, they will request for all these documents, your SCR, your rehabilitation plans and stuff like that. Even MMSD, make requests for that in case you want to apply for your mining lease, because you must ensure that your activities and your business keeps the environment intact, at least plus or minus. You have to ensure that all those things are being met. So we would always still campaign and still encourage and all these our artisanals, educate them. They need environmental education, awareness. It will also help them in most of their activities, because whatsoever thing we do, directly or indirectly, still get back to us. It could be from the air, the water, the plant, and stuff like that. Indirectly, it still finds its way towards us. So as geoscientists, let's keep campaigning, and it will also help us to improve the environment. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Fadele, for that wonderful contribution of yours. I'm seeing another hand by Hawaii Prime. There's no name here, but please, Hawaii, is ask. Can you kindly unmute yourself? You are using Y9 Prime 2019. I don't know the name. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
okay.
I can hear you. I can hear you. I can hear you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Please,
thank you very much for this. My name is Anthony Oforum.
Okay. You're welcome to the platform.
Yeah, thank you very much. I thank the presenter for a wonderful presentation. This is a good one, and I'm happy that we are doing in this part. But my concern here is more of the environmental impacts of some of the activities in the mining and the quarrying industry in Nigeria. When you look at it, yes, the artisanal mining is a challenge itself, the way they are mining and all that, because of lack of government support. But I think that is not the only problem we have in Nigeria. In the mining industry, I tell you, I want to categorically say that the government is not playing their role. And I don't know how we can come in and make sure that the right thing is done. Because there's a lot of big companies who are into mining and quarrying in that industry in Nigeria who doesn't do the right thing by getting the relevant documentation before going to the site. Documentations like EIA, that a lot of them are supposed to have carried out before they go into the site. And today, and the regulatory bodies we have in Nigeria give them license without them doing the right thing. A lot of them don't do EIA. You see them, they go into the site. And going into the site, you go to Nigeria now, most of the places they do quarrying and mining in Nigeria, you see a lot of abandoned mine pits. As a result of most companies come, because nobody, the regulatory bodies are not there, they don't have the needed document to regulate them, then you see a lot of them, they mine and they leave those environment like that, making the environment more dangerous or habitat for the people. Nobody reclaim, they don't reclaim all those pits and all that, and they will leave it like that. So there is need for synergy, because the Ministry of Mines, I think before they give license or mining lease or whatever it's called to these companies, there is need for them to make sure that the companies have done EIA, before they go to the site. There is an impact assessment or impact statement handed over to the companies before they go into the bushes or the site to mine. Because when you go around now, you see there's a lot of land degradation, there's a lot of mine pits here and there, no reclamation, nothing. That's as a result of, because the country is porous, nobody is doing the needful. They collect money from the companies and they allow them to go into the communities or to the sites to mine without doing the needful. So there is need. How can we now get it right? Because we need to get it right. Getting it right is getting the first document that is needed before some of these companies go to the site. I think there is need for us to look into that area and see how we can, because that is where solving these problems, environmental factors or environmental problems in Nigeria will start by making sure that the companies get the right documents or the right tools before they go to the site. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for that wonderful contribution. I will need to let you know that Nigeria, we have all those rules, we have all those guidelines existing, and you will be surprised that if I tell you that there are everything in place. The issue with us is the same problem we are crying for. That's why you see the platform. That's why we see us talking, so that the people, when the right person is there, we say we must keep talking. When the right person is there, they will do the right thing. There is everything in the mining sector to ensure that our environment are actually protected. The issue is the implementation and the people in charge of those implementation. Because when you talk about EIA, definitely you have to explore. After your exploration, you go in for your mining lease. And even your mining lease, the prerequisite is that you get your EIA. You understand? And it has to be done in 2 seasons. And even before that, there are a lot of calls, some pre-developmental activities and pre-documents for you to actually commence your mining activities, especially in your SSML or mining lease. So that's why we have the EIA, we have the audits. Environmental audit is possibly what you have to do every other year to ensure that you keep to your promises during the EIA. And we have what we call the Environmental Protection and Rehabilitation Plan, which is the EPRP. And that EPRP is actually something that you need to start from day one. This is where you need to. It is made in such a way that in my former companies, they will have such document and it was done. It's made in such a way that when you start mining, there will be some aspect of funds that will be going to a particular account in preparation for your reclamation. So that when you finish mining or you finish whatever you are doing and you are gone, that fund could be used to, do what we call a reclamation or bringing the environment to near where it was before you came into the field. So, but the issue we have is that implementation. Do you understand? So that's why we are bringing this advocacy. That's why you see platforms. We can't constitute other bodies for that. We have Mines Inspectorate under MMSD, Ministry of Mines and Steel Environment. These are a body that is actually responsible to inspect, what is actually going in the field and carry out the job as they actually bestowed on them by the government. From my experience, I don't want to talk about what we've seen in the field, but that that aspect is totally lacking. That's why you see a lot of abandoned mines, a lot of things happening everywhere, and nobody is actually taking care. And also, there is this issue of peculiarity and specific. We need to be clear and be specific when it comes to mining. A lot of mining policies are copy and paste. Copy and paste is that they are not designed to our peculiarity of what is obtainable here in Nigeria. So that is another aspect we are not looking at. We've actually said this thing over and over. There was where I was involved in a committee in one of the presentations done in Calabar held by Ministry of Mines and Steel Development. And we brought this issue of peculiarity in our EIA policies and so many documents we are preparing. We don't just look at Australia that are actually advanced in mining, look at their own climate and all that. We bring all the things they have.
I'm coming, I'm busy.
You understand? We'll go to US and copy everything and combine them and come and keep it on our people here. The implementation is where the problem is. Copying documents and pasting it and asking us to do it when you understand that we cannot even do this. That's why you see most of the policies are redundant and nothing seems to be done about that, and it's affecting us. So government need to look beyond that. You understand? What is peculiar with our people? What is peculiar with our mining? What is peculiar with our mindset? How can we get this thing done? Let us put in practical documents that can actually be implemented. Not those things that you're telling an artisanal miner to bring 15 million before he does a document and EIA and all that. So, and you think that could be done. No, I don't think it's possible. So that's why you see us bringing this advocacy in a way that people that needs to hear can hear us. And also, let's go, Saul Hent. Exa, are you there? Please, let's hear his contribution. I don't know. He's been raising his hand. You're muted now. Can you talk, please?
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay.
You're welcome to the platform.
Yeah, thank you. Good afternoon all. And I want to thank the speaker for a very nice presentation. And the truth about it is that when we talk about ESG, it's just a new buzzword and come as it were. It has been with us all this while. When you say EIA or ESIA, it has a component of ESG. ESG is about reporting. You are reporting what you're doing. It's what ESG is all about. A company is reporting that this is what they are doing. And the issue I've had so far is the awareness. People barely know what ESG means. And people again report what they feel will appeal to the public, okay? Because the ESG report is not audited. It's not. So they report what they feel is going to appeal to the public. And when you see it, at times you feel, oh, it's okay, they're doing well. But in actual sense, if you check and you audit, that might not be the state of their performance. My thinking is that awareness is key. If an EIA is done and done with the mindset that you want to control or limit or mitigate the impacts in an environment, and is done well, and not just a document that will be kept on the shelves, and EIA will be able to solve all these components or issues of ESG. You don't need to report. If you have a culture and a mindset of doing things sustainably, okay, you don't have to come out and tell people this is the way I'm doing it. You have already imbibed a culture in you. And after an EIA, you do an audit, which is checking what you say you're going to do, just as you rightly said. So we have all the key components before now to ensure that we meet the key environmental, social covenants, like the structure. I'm coming as it were. We have all the components before now. So if we put all these things into use, I think we're going to go a long way. ESG, yes, but it's just a buzzword. It's the same thing we have been doing before. But after some few years, they bring a new word that's going to appeal to people's mindset. But the key thing is, let us ensure sustainability, making the future, making the present conducive for the future. That is just what it is. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you to that contribution. I also need to add in a few things to what you just said for out there. I think essentially, like what you said, these things have been existing, but ESG is more of self-regulatory, like what you said. If you have the mindset of doing the right thing, you have the mindset, you can actually do that. Essentially, good CSR initiative may lead to high ESG ratings, and is a strong, when you talk about CSR, it's seen as qualitatively, is a qualitative side of it, while ESG is a kind of a quantitative side of it. So it's a self-regulatory approach to what we are doing. So I think that is a nice one. Having your contribution with us today on this platform. I don't know, does any other person have question for our presenter? I'm not seeing any more hands. Okay. Is there any other question? Ato, did you record any other question? Okay. Dr. Mrs. Salawu has sending some, okay, and sending some also some text here. He said this presentation, she said this presentation cut across all stages of mining activities from upstream through medium processing down to downstream. The final stage, the marketing and now medical geology aspects in the mining sector should also be looked into critically. Madam, thank you for that also. And please note that you can also download this slide presentation from our website, www.iamesep.com. And she also said that formalization is the key point here, So that is all I could get from her own contribution here. Please, I don't know, is there another question, contribution? If not, we will summarize this by Ato. Are you there? Yeah, can you hear me? Okay, if you are not there, I will give a closing remark. Okay, Dr. Mrs. Salawu, I don't know if she's in a place she can talk. If she's not in a place she can talk, I will give a closing remark to Dr. Fadale. Fadale, are you there? Please, we need a closing remark from you to our participants who actually brought out their time for today's presentation. So you can just do that in a minute so that we can round up.
Okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Gideon, for the whole coordination and also to our presenter, Mr. Tayo. We are so much grateful for giving us at least part of the wealth of knowledge you have shared some to us, especially those of us in the industry And some of us who are also in the classroom, at least to empower us, to also enlighten us better, in a better way to address issues that is related to the environment and our operations. So we pray that God will keep strengthening you and grant you success in your program. And also to Mr. Gideon, more wisdom. He has always been so resourceful to us, putting together these different persons in the industry with wealth of knowledge so that we can learn from. We pray God will keep strengthening the body. And we want to welcome each and every participant once again, and thank you for giving our time out of no time to also listen to this. Please, let's make good use of it. Let's keep the awareness flowing. Let's keep educating ourselves. And I believe we can have a better environment and a better future. Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Fadele. Thank you for that vote of thanks. Tayo, I don't know if you are still there. Tayo, are you there?
Yeah. Yes, I am.
Okay, a final notes for our participant today.
Well, it's been a very enlightening session, and I must confess to you, I've also added one or two new things too. So I've been quiet because I believe when we have an interaction like this, it should be both ways. But I just want to do a quick one on the last contribution, that ESG is not about what is to happen. It's reporting about what has happened. And you see the vision of what you call there's a way to call it, there's a phrase for it. When you present a wrong impression, I will look up my write-up. Now you can paint you can decide to do your reporting. Like I said, here's this reporting. So it's not a condition to get any paper, any document in mining. No, you report what has already happened. So, but it's more of a long-term thing. It is what makes you to stay in there. And that's why it is connected to sustainability. Now, if you decide to doctor it and to do what we call green painting, you now do a green paint, you make it look well. There are softwares, there are technological developments that will unearth the truthfulness about all your claims. More so, even in ESG too, like I told you, even advanced and developed clients, it is still evolving. It's not a new thing per se, but the way it is now, like most other things, is evolving. New knowledges are coming in by the day. So we're adding up and we're getting to know better. So there are softwares now, there are templates that you don't even need to disclose fully. The truth will come out by just one. And then there's also auditing of the ESG report is there too. So all those are prepared, and all these international bodies, BBOP, financial fair play, something, all of them have mechanisms to check up your claims. So, and finally, let me tell you, ESG compliance is a win-win. When you see beyond just compliance, which was my conclusion, see beyond just complying with regulations, see it as your own way to make yourself to stay and to be profitable and to be attractive to both the client and the customer in this sector. Then you will do all you can to be true to be, knowing that it is for your own good. So that's my contribution. I hope we've all added to our knowledges, and I've also been really I've benefited too from this session. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Tayo, for today. We're very glad you are here with us. I want to tell you you are doing very well, and we will keep bringing you to this platform to share from your numerous experiences in the mining sector. Please, we conclude by saying that ESG provides the opportunity for mining companies to consider implementing meaningful strategies and policies as the central part of doing business, to not only drive investment into mining in the country, but to ensure a competitive, sustainable, and accountable sector. On this note, we'll conclude today, and we'll say thank you all and have a very wonderful day ahead of you. Thank you.
Thank you.